Moving on now, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has downplayed the phasing down of coal row, which had become the bone of contention at the COP26. Now he has blamed, President had blamed China and India for a dilution in the agreement on phasing out of the use of coal. Johnson said in a historic achievement to make 190 take pledge of cutting down on coal use, and as a speaker of English, phasing out or phasing down on coal does not make a difference.
It's an immense thing, and about everything, but it's an immense thing to get a commitment from 190 countries to phase down or phase out coal. I don't know whether the language is phase down or phase out. It doesn't seem to me, as a speaker of English, to make that much difference. The direction of travel is pretty much the same.
Now, this was in stark contrast to the comments made by COP26 President earlier, where he had said that it was rather disappointing to see India and China object to the phrase phasing out of coal.
On the issue of coal, China and India, of course, are going to have to justify to some of the most climate vulnerable countries what happened. You heard that disappointment on the floor. So what I would say to you that, overall, this is a historic agreement. We can be really, really proud of it. But of course, this is just a start. We now need to deliver on the commitments.
The COP26 president may have his reasons for focusing on India and China's position on coal. However, the point remains that, as Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had pointed out during his address at the summit, India, with 17% of the world population, accounts for a mere 5% of the emissions, the lowest in per capita emission terms. Following the summit, Indian Environment Minister too reiterated India's position on coal and commitments towards green energy.
Minister, is this deal a failure though? Does this last-minute amendment mean that countries have been let down?
It is accepted by all countries.
Accepted, but not very happy.
Minister, do you feel India has made the world a more dangerous place by your intervention?
Nothing at all. India is committed for green energy.
But you're continuing to uphold the production of coal. Science says that's incompatible with the climate. It's science, it's not politics.
It is according to the Paris Agreement.
The Indian Environment Minister also put out a blog following the summit, highlighting how developed countries have yet not phased out coal. In his statement, Bhupendra Yadav said, and I am quoting here, "Fossil fuels and their use have enabled parts of the world to attain high levels of growth. Even now, developed countries have not completely phased out coal. Developing countries have a right to their fair share of global carbon budget and are entitled to the responsible use of fossil fuels within this scope." Now the question arises, why focus on India and its position on coal? Why not other oil and gas industry, which is one of the biggest contributors to rising emission levels in the United States and Europe? To put things in perspective, this is the first time ever that coal has taken the center stage in any climate summit. But just focusing on coal instead of all fossil fuels will have serious impact on developing nations like India. Also, sources present during the plenary in which the final draft was adopted said that China played a major role in pushing for the phasing out coal clause, something which even the US climate envoy John Kerry admitted as being the way forward.
As a result of what took place here with nations that have never considered even having the word coal in a plan, where it remains even today after what took place, coal and the phase down of coal is on the books. It's part of the decision. And you have to phase down coal before you can, quote, end coal.
Now, climate change is a planetary challenge and India has been doing its bit. In fact, it is the only G20 country on track to meet its Paris Accord goals. India is the pioneer of the International Solar Alliance, and about 124 nations are part of the treaty spearheaded by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Third, India has been a key negotiator for a climate finance for the G77 countries, with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi calling for $1 trillion climate finance fund from the countries, which grew with the help of fossil fuels to help developing countries battling climate change. The COP26 has now agreed to work on enhancing the same Speaking about finance, let us also tell you what the rich and developed nations have done to achieve the climate finance target. Japan and France are two of the biggest economies in the world. It is to be noted that Japan is the third largest economy in the world. Both these nations have made significant contributions to the climate finance, not as grants but as loans. Even this time, the COP26 was extended beyond its ending date because the rich were divided over who should pay for the climate finance, or rather for the damage that they have caused to the world. As per the data of the cumulative emissions per population in 1850 to 2021, while nations like Canada and the US top the chart, peaking over 1,000 in terms of per capita emissions, India's per capita emissions stand at 50. Climate change is a global phenomenon, and focus on fossil fuels is the first urgent step towards mitigating rising emissions. But the same can't be seen without the realities of the economic situation of the countries as they strive to fulfill their needs through renewable energy. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.